How's it going today?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. Go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do.
My name is Peter Carlovich. I am a musician, producer, actor, visual artist, and I'm also a truck driver.
Alright, and how long have you been making music?
Since I was 10 years old or so.
Yeah.
My first band was with my little brother. It was called Hammy Lammy. He was on drums, I was on guitar. And then after that, I got into electronic music, like playing Animal Collective and shit like that.
And about 14, I got a drum machine and I think a little microKORG and maybe a Casio or something like that. And made electronic music for a little bit. And then after that, I started a band at 16 called OO Ecstasy. And I released a ton of music under that name. I broke up that band in 2019. Then I started the band Peter is Dead. We came out with a few albums and then one that's in limbo. I recently put that project on indefinite hiatus. And now we're at My Love Lucifer Peter. And I also play drums in a heavy metal band called Cometa Negra.
So I listened to what you sent me, and that's your new album you're working on?
Yeah, it's actually coming out at the end of the month, on the 31st of January.
I was wondering, what's your favorite track off of it?
I think the last song, In the Mirror.
Yeah, I must love that. So I was wondering, what's your recording process on this?
So I have a home studio, here. I got a bunch of shit.
Very cool.
And, basically, I would come home from my day job and drink a lot of alcohol and smoke a lot of weed and take mushrooms. And then just kind of start doing things. And, I don't know, I saw the band, do you know the band Sun?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so they just came to New York, and it's my first time ever seeing them.
Right.
And, yeah, I mean, I've been obsessed with just, feedback and, just crushing drones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And recently my neighbor gave me a new guitar amp, that's, this really big, 80-watt tube amp that, can kind of do the Sun thing. And I've been just kind of doing feedback in my apartment for a while now, and just doing drones and stuff like that, and I started recording them. And then I came out with the first track I recorded for the album was Here and Now. It was kind of just supposed to be a one-off thing that I was gonna put out. And then I was like, what if I kind of made a whole album that kind of had this thing going on where I'm stripping kind of all the elements down to just the bare minimum of just drones and feedback and texture. And I tried to not really go in with a songwriting structure in mind or anything like that, or really any approach to that kind of thing.
Yeah. What was your first instrument, do you know?
First one would have been the xylophone.
What?
But it was only because, in elementary school, we did, a band thing, a marching band thing, and they put me on xylophone, and I practiced it for a couple weeks and did the one show. And then I didn't touch a xylophone until I was, 15 when I got another one. I got, a little tiny one, record with.
Very right.
But, my first, real instrument would probably be guitar. And then, really shortly after was drums, because my parents, they lived down in South Jersey, and in their garage, when we were kids, they used to have, a little Tama drum set. That's, my brother picked up the drums and I picked up guitar, but he became interested in hockey, after years, because he was a kid.
Yeah.
And the drum set was just laying there, so I was like, I want to start learning how to play that. So then I kind of started learning how to do both at the same time. And then, I think when I was 13 or 14, do you remember the PS2 game Rock Band?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it came with the 2 vocal microphones that you plug into the PS2 are actually the USB microphones.
Yeah.
So I figured that out, and I got like a little like USB hub or whatever, like from Radio Shack at the time.
Yeah.
And so like those 2 Rock Band microphones were like the first way I kind of figured out how to record on like, a laptop or whatever by just plugging the 2 USB in and then just miking up whatever I wanted to with those.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, gotta do what you gotta do. And then in high school, I went to like a performing arts high school, and I was in the tech theater department, and I stole 2 SM57s one day. Yeah, and that was and then I got like a little like one of those little audio boxes, like an M Audio thing.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, and then just started recording GarageBand, and I didn't switch over to. I now record in Logic, but I recorded GarageBand like for 10 years. I didn't switch over to Logic till I think 5 years ago. Before that, all my albums were done in GarageBand.
Did you keep the same old version of Logic? Or did you do the updates?
I bought Logic X in like 2019, I think. So I've been updating it, but I don't know. Is there like a new version?
For the longest time, I was using the old version of Logic. I like torrented it, and then like I was just keeping it rolling for years. And then this year, I finally decided to buy it and update it, and I erased the version that was the old torrented version, and I swear I miss the old version so much more than this new. I was like, even all the like new cool sounds and the capabilities, like the mixing and mastering is sweet on the new one. I just think like the old way was way more fun and interactive and like a little bit easier to just like make tracks from like nothing. And this one is kind of more targeted by like scoping your sound, building track by track, or finding your loop and building off from there, or really for mixing and mastering if you're like feeding in your gear. So right now I'm gonna kind of like take a step back and like relearn new stuff about Logic. Now with like old GarageBand, did you enjoy making stuff off of GarageBand?
Oh, I fucking loved it, dude. I mean, I felt like I didn't need anything else. But like, ultimately, after like, with my first band, Oh Ecstasy, like, I think like there were officially 10 full-length albums or something like that, in the series. And then there was also just like random, outliers and stuff. But all that stuff was GarageBand, and then there was, I think, like 2 albums where like a friend would like help me record it in Pro Tools, and it'd be on his computer, right? And we do it all at his house. But like besides that, like I didn't really need much more. But after that band ended, I like wanted to get serious about like actually making like a home recording setup work for me. Okay. And I don't know, when I was a little kid, I was like obsessed with effects pedals, like guitar pedals and stuff, and when I was like 13 years old, they weren't really seen as like, vintage effects pedals weren't seen as like, they were seen as like crap or whatever. Yeah. And you can buy them really cheap. So I had all these vintage effects pedals like that I've collected over the years, and starting in 2019, I started selling off the ones that I don't use. Like I keep the good ones. Yeah. But anything I wasn't using, or anything that was like really valuable, I was collecting dust. Like I started just buying recording gear, and I was like, well, now that I have all these, nice, I got like a nice preamp, I got a nice microphone, I got good speakers now, I got a good interface, like I can't just dump that into GarageBand, and also like the bit rate is right, you know what I mean? And like Logic is basically just an extension of GarageBand. I'm able to open all my old files anyways into GarageBand. I mean, from GarageBand to Logic if I need to.
Yeah, that's really useful.
But rarely anymore, because ever since 2019 I switched over completely. And I mean, I scored an entire film in Logic too.
Really?
Yeah, I've been trying to get more into film composition. I was asked to act in a movie a couple of years ago, and should be coming out pretty soon. It's called This Is the Day. And
Hey, sick.
yes, yeah. It's based off the song, if you know that band. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. How did that come to be? At your phone?
I was playing a show with Ecstasy at a house in like South Brooklyn.
Okay.
And the director was writing the film at the time, and he came over to me and asked me if I wanted to act in a movie. And way down the line, we ended up like kind of developing it together, and then we shot it a couple years ago, and then I ended up scoring it. And then ever since then, I've done a couple like short films as well. Like there was this one called Oscar Zulu, which gave me my IMDb credit, which is nice.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm trying to get more into that because I'm really like a lot of the shit I was doing when I was a kid is like ambient music and stuff like that. Like kind of before I knew exactly what to call it or what it was actually. Like I've always been interested in just making like soundscapes and experimenting and stuff. You know, I can like lose my head in that shit for hours. You know, like I'll sit in my apartment and just set up a couple synthesizers with some pedals on each of them and just kind of, you know, just play around and like loop things and stuff and then make like drones. Like last year I made a series of ambient albums called God's Favorite, and they're volumes 1 through 10. They're on my Bandcamp. They're under my own name, Peter Carlovich.
All right. I did see that actually.
Yeah, the Bandcamp is really confusing now because I basically I had to switch it over from Peter's Dead to my new thing now.
Right. Now, yeah, I have to say, with like moving on from different projects, what do you think like makes the one project different than what you're working on currently?
Well, so Ecstasy, I would say, was like my attempt at being somebody like Ariel Pink or something like that.
Right.
Where it was kind of just like, this was like this gonzo kind of project where it's like, nobody's really a member, kind of everybody comes in and out, you know what I mean? And I've had over 20 people play in the band, you know, over the 9 years that we were together. And like, I just didn't want to do that anymore. Like, so, like, after the last lineup, like, was gonna fall through again because people, you know, just had life going on and other commitments, which is totally valid, you know? They can't all just be playing bars for the rest of, you know, their fucking 20s. You know, but I broke up that band and was like, I need to do something that's less in the like songwriting basis. I felt like I was trying to compromise like what I wanted to do musically to kind of get some popularity. I wanted to, you know, I wanted to be like, you know, known in the Brooklyn scene and all that shit, and I wanted to make music that appeals to people, make pop music or whatever that means, you know what I mean? Like whatever indie pop, whatever that is. But when I broke up that band, I was kind of like, I mean, I'm still, you know, I'm like, was more interested in like bands like Swans or like Psychic TV or like, you know, like things that are just more abstract and like there's not like, the point isn't the point of the song, it's like how they get to where they're going, you know?
Definitely agree.
And I wanted to do something like that. Like, and originally that's what I set out to do. And the first, like, Peter is Dead album is, like, industrial. Like, it's mostly that kind of shit. And, like, mixes of, like, Primal Scream type, like, acid house things and stuff like that.
Yeah, very rad.
But then, like, I assembled a band of, like, 5 guys. Or, well, 4 guys and me. And we worked together for the next, like, 5 years just as a unit. And, like, it was always, like, me writing the songs and everything, but I basically was like, I don't want to be writing everybody's parts anymore. I want everybody to come in and...
Where I'm at? No!
Pretty much a unit, you know, for 5 years. And, we were working... We like all the material we were playing live too was off an album that I didn't finish yet, and it took me 4 years to just finish it, and it's still not technically finished. And I just kept recording new music and writing new songs while I had these things like in the back burner. And I had the guys play all their parts on the album and everything. Like, it was very much like a diplomatic, you know, everybody does what they are meant to do on this album. And I don't know, the album just fell by the wayside, and then the band became harder and harder to play shows and just kind of keep together with all the guys' lives just going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of wanted to give everybody a break because, you know, I don't think everybody's like in it for the long haul, and that's fine. And I love all those guys, they're all still my friends. But
I think how that goes.
it's gonna be fun.
You got that jam and start to take that step back and like have that relationship.
Yeah. But, like, the last kind of, like, nail in the coffin basically was, we had a house show scheduled, and I really wanted to play this place or whatever, and we were gonna do it 4-piece. We usually do 5-piece. That's already something
We don't normally do, but we were gonna adapt to that. And then 2 days before the show, another member of the band also dropped out. So now I'm left. Now it's a 3-piece. You know what I mean? Oh no, I'm sorry. 3 guys dropped out in total.
Oh,
So now it was me, the drummer, and the bass player that I asked my friend to fill in for.
yeah.
So we had to reconfigure an entirely new set, just doing that, because I want to not play the show, and they kind of convinced me, like, you have so many songs, I think we can find a couple of them to learn this evening and work out.
Right.
And I, like, listened back to, like, some old Peter's Dead stuff that, like, I didn't really do anything with, and I was like, oh, it'd be really interesting to kind of play this stuff, and it was like kind of more in the shoegaze, like heavy alternative rock kind of thing, which is what I've been into anyway recently. And so yeah, we rolled up to the show after one practice and just fucking blew the lid off the house, you know, like I cranked my amp to 10 and we played as a 3-piece, and I was kind of like, I think I just want to do this now. You know, it's a lot easier too, right? And I've written a full album's worth of material and stuff.
we're starting to do rehearsals on all that material, so we're gonna start playing gigs very soon. So this album was me kind of getting the ball rolling on the whole project because I didn't want to start playing gigs with nothing out. You know? It's confusing when that happens. And it's going to be a couple months before our album is recorded and everything, because I can't record drums in my apartment. So we're going to do that in my friend's studio.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, that stuff is going to be like more straightforward, honestly. It's going to be like more in like the psychedelic rock, shoegaze kind of thing. There's a lot of jams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's very much like a band-oriented sounding album.
Right.
Yeah, and basically also to go back to like playing that one show, it's basically like after I did it 3-piece, it was like I think I should just call this a new thing, right? Because it's now just a completely different departure from what I was doing before that, and it's not the same people, and it's like I want to give these guys a break anyways. So I guess just to answer your question full circle, that's I guess the differentiation between all the projects. It's just kind of how they started and stopped, and also kind of my intentions with what I want to do with each of the projects. Like Peter's Dead didn't get that heavy, honestly, because once I added the full band, we were kind of making like Brian Jonestown Massacre, kind of like psychedelic.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, it was really fun, and I had a good time doing it, but we weren't really doing anything too experimental anymore,
Yeah, that is something whenever you have like an itch to try to do different things, you really kind of find out like what's working and what's not working. Now, like whenever it comes like gear, do you ever kind of find gear where you're like, oh, I really want this to be like the thing, but it's just not the thing right now? Do you have like something we have to set aside for other projects?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Do you have like your favorite piece of equipment that you work on right now?
So, yeah, I got a couple that I can tell you about. In back here is my Roland Juno 106.
Very nice.
It's an 80s Roland synthesizer. They're very popular. But that has been living on my workstation for the past, I don't know, 9 years or so since I got it. You
Yeah.
know, it's always been on my desk, ready to go. I'm nasty at fucking programming it. I can get like whatever sound I want. Um, it's weird
I
though
like
because
Roland a lot.
sorry.
I like Roland a lot. I've been messing with like their sequencers and stuff lately.
Oh, what do you have?
I like the Roland SH like beat boutique thing. So it's like you're running MIDI and you're awesomely like making different stuff out of it. It's
Yeah, that
interesting little tool.
Yeah, those are really cool. I really want to start getting into like sequencing and all that stuff now because I now the only way I like sequence all the hardware is like just off my computer.
Exactly.
I want like a thing though that I can like press
Yeah.
buttons and make actual sequences and see what happens.
Whenever, yeah, you like able to like save something that you're familiar to go back with, it's like makes it easier for the jam to like have that extra like layer that like is like needs to happen whenever you're working with somebody just a three piece. Because I feel like whenever it's just three people, especially with guitarists, the guitarist has to bring a lot to the table. Besides a drummer, maybe.
Yeah. Well, thank God I got like the best drummer.
So here's a fun question.
Yeah.
This one's a classic Vibe Osmosis question. If you had a time machine, would you go forwards or backwards?
I would really like to go backwards and either I would either go to London in 1965 and go see Pink Floyd with Sid Barrett, or I guess that'd be 67. I would go see
Yeah.
Pink Floyd with Sid Barrett at one of the acid tests.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be great.
Or
Right
San
before they
Francisco.
shut down LSD.
What?
Right before they shut down LSD.
Exactly. But the other thing I would do if I went back was go to San Francisco, also in 1967, to see the one concert where the Grateful Dead played with Velvet Underground.
Oh yeah, that would be really awesome. San Francisco back in the day. Yeah, it was something to see in its prime. And have you always been out in New York?
Yeah, born and raised.
So I'm sure you get sick of the history of New York at this point.
You know, I'm a proud New Yorker, man.
Yeah.
Like I've never left. I've never lived anywhere else, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, it comes with the it just comes with from being here. And it's like I do have pride, so like I don't mind it.
Yeah, the good and the bad. There's some good and some bad.
Yeah, and I mean, like a lot of the New York artists, at least for me, are big influences. Like, and I mean, nowadays, like, I have, I meet people at like either shows or at, art things or whatever, where they're like, yeah, I used to go to CBGB's back in the day. We saw television with Blondie and like, 3 people in the room and, all that shit. So like, I'm totally into that fucking shit, and
Definitely.
I'm a huge Suicide fan, television, like, I don't know, there's so many bands, Sonic Youth, like, Swans.
Yeah. There's something iconic about New York. I have a family out there, and like I've been like a lot, and every single time I come out there, I definitely feel like this energy of like, okay, every day can be something new and different. Doesn't have to kind of have like this like doom and gloom that some people put on like being in the city. Out here in Seattle, like there's kind of that vibe. I was watching like Sopranos last night, and this girl was like, Tony, do you know anybody that's ever committed suicide or something like that? And she was like, I lived in Seattle once. And like we were like, me and my friends are looking over at each other like, yeah, so you go to Seattle to kill yourself? Like everyone's in Seattle just killing themselves out here. So that's the city who'll do that to you.
I've never been.
I know someone. Sorry.
Sorry, what were you saying?
It's like, that's the only way I know someone that killed themselves if they've been to Seattle.
Yeah. I don't know. I've known people who killed themselves here, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, R.I.P. So here's a fun Vibe Osmosis question, too. If you were stranded on an island, but you could only take one thing with you, what's your item?
Oh man, that's a hard question.
That is tough.
Because honestly, I would if I was stranded on an island, I probably wouldn't be positive about it. I wouldn't be looking for longevity. I'd be looking for something fun to do while I'm there, and then eventually
Gotta pass
die.
this time.
I don't know, shoot acid.
Dying for juice and water later, or maybe swimming in with the sharks. That would be a really fun acid trip. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't have to do it all at once. You can space it out over many days.
Yeah, the one dose is the whole sheet.
I mean, you'll be fine for weeks on that. I feel like, right?
Yeah. All right. So to speak on this one, what's like what's like an ultimate like meal for you? Like your last meal? Like what would be like the main thing you'd choose?
Um, are we doing like one of those like serial killers style where it's like, oh, they got like ribs from here, they got like fries
Seven
from
course meal.
yeah, like uh, I would get a pulled pork sandwich.
All right.
Um, I would probably get fries from McDonald's
All right. Very good choice.
and McDonald's also from Wingstop.
Going hard here. They got the best sauces though.
Um, and probably a good steak, like maybe from like Peter Luger or some shit. um, and a lot of Coca-Cola.
Yeah. Right.
Uh, and yeah, I don't know. And
Good call.
yeah, I mean, maybe if one more item, and like assuming that I'm doing this like to fuck the system, right? That like, executing me.
Yeah.
I'll also probably ask for like an Italian sandwich, like maybe ciabatta with like mozzarella, arugula, prosciutto, hot pepper, and some balsamic glaze, and then we could call it a day.
I wonder if they get it that easy whenever they have their request. I'd be throwing out the biggest request ever, but can I get like $150 steak, maybe $200 steak?
I mean, do you think they would spring on me? Like,
Yeah, man. All right, so here's another fun one. So, what would your spirit animal be? Do you know?
um, sorry it takes so long to think about these questions. It's not even like the answers are that good.
It's definitely not standard questions.
Spirit animal. You know, it's gonna be a boring answer, but I think a border collie or a sheltie, like a dog, like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
like my dog.
Oh, you have a really cute dog. Boy or girl?
Girl, her name is Latka.
Very cute.
She's named after the Andy Kaufman character on Taxi.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman's actually all right. So, all right, yeah, to get into some media, what are some favorite movies?
Favorite movies. Evil Dead, probably one of my old times. The movie Dig.
Yeah?
I love that movie. I mean, I'm a huge Brian Jonestown fan.
Okay. I get
They were like an early influence on me as well, I would say. Like when I saw Dig when I was like 13 or 14, and I saw that one scene where Anton is recording all the instruments himself for Devil May Care.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh shit, you just need a couple microphones and a multi-track thing, and you don't need anybody else. You don't need to tell anybody what to do, which I had a problem with telling people what to do.
All right. I see. That's something to learn from.
You know, so like when I saw that movie, I was like, oh shit, like, and then the problem was I was like 13, so I was like, oh, and then you got to be a tyrant, and you got to get addicted to heroin, and then you got to everybody out of your band, and you record a million albums, and I did all of that, and it didn't work out for me.
I have to say, he takes some lessons from things. I definitely feel you on this. Now, like with like music outside of them, what else would you say is a big inspiration?
Um, fucking Neil Young, dude.
Yeah, he's great.
Like where?
He's
I
great.
don't know if he's. Oh yeah, it's right here. Neil Young. I'm a big Grateful Dead fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Dead. I go to a lot of jam band shows, a lot of cover band, Grateful Dead cover band shows. I'm recently sober too, so it's really interesting to go to Dead cover shows
Makes
now.
makes it a head thing. Like you
Yeah,
get
I
in
mean,
the
you know, the
zone.
fun thing is like like I listen to Dead music all day at work anyways. Like it's not like I need to be fucked up to listen to them. I
Yeah,
mean, it
yeah,
helps,
that's true.
but you know, like I went to go see this band called Taper's Choice.
Okay.
They're a jam band. One the drummer is from Vampire Weekend, the bass player's from Real Estate, and I don't know where the other two guys are from, but they do like originals. Like they don't
Yeah.
do like they do like some covers, but like they're
Awesome.
really cool. But I went to that
Awesome.
show the other day and I just ate a fucking edible and just closed my eyes, dude. I got fucking high as shit, man. You don't need fucking, you don't need to go crazy. I used to be
I
fucking taking
agree.
acid at these things. Like it's a Tuesday night, man.
Yeah, right. And then like the next day, you really feel like so raw. Like I don't know how I ended up here on this earth, but I'm still here and everything's like connected. That's something really deep about psychedelics. I'm like, I don't know why it makes you feel so interconnected with like the world at times or isolated, kind of goes
Yeah.
with that.
I
Um,
mean, it just depends on where you are with them, you know?
sure.
Like I mean, personally, I wouldn't say that I'm like, I mean, I still smoke weed and everything, and like, I wouldn't say no to some mushrooms every once in a while, but like, I used to fucking, do mushrooms. Like, I mean, my favorite way to do drugs is alone in my apartment and just
You've
make
done
me,
that.
you know?
Yes.
So like, I mean, that's how a lot of this shit came about, anyways.
Yeah.
Like when I'm alone, it's like, what else am I gonna do? I'm all fucked up. I'm vibing, Like, let me
Research chemicals.
like, let me just fucking turn on the amp. It's already mic'd up. Like I keep all this shit like ready to go. Basically, it's all like plugged in. So like, I don't really have to do much setting up. If I have like an idea, I can kind of just like down here. I have like one fucking power switch that switches on the whole entire desk, and I
That's
just
a
gotta
great
put
idea. Taking notes.
it's like as like little barriers as you can create for yourself as you can keep away from yourself like between the idea and actually realizing it like that's the way I like to work at least because if I like am at work and I get a melody in my head I'll record it into my voice recorder right I'll record it in my phone or whatever but I don't know if I'm even going to remember it later or listen to it later or remember that I recorded it you
Yeah.
know but like if I'm at home if it's all right here ready to go that's it. And like I like, just finishing songs like in a night, like shit like that. Like
Me
I
too.
try I try to get just most of the, you know, everything I can there. And then if I have to do overdubs later, that's one thing, but I try to get like the song basically fleshed out as quickly as possible.
Now, would you consider that a blessing or a curse?
Uh, you know,
I face the same thing because sometimes I want it to be hashed out very fastly. And then like say whenever I'm working on it sober and then I take a step back after I mix and master and I'm smoking to it later and I'm listening to it and I'm just like sometimes I'm like either nitpicking at it or I'm really enjoying it, and I'm thinking, oh well this is done. Then like
yeah,
the next day I'd be like, well maybe that's not done.
yeah.
Maybe I should save that file and go back and mix and master it again or something.
Oh, I mean, I do that too, man. Like,
Yeah.
I get it out and then I listen to it 100 times the next day and also like 50 times before I go to sleep that night.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I'm
All
like, now I don't
versions.
know what to do to make it better. And then I do come back to it after that. But I try to get at least
Yeah.
basis out of it done. But yeah, I mean, like every time I come back, I'm like, what the fuck was I on last night? I was like,
Yeah.
you
Like,
know what I
that
mean?
was a really good like effect board sound. I wish I saved all that. Like there's sometimes I've heard you that I'm like, damn it, dude. What did I do?
Like, dude, I hate it when like I'll be listening back and I'll be like, what is that sound? How did I get that? And then I'll look at the pedals that are set up from last night even, and I'll be like, I still don't even know.
Yeah, right. Like,
Hold on, when I turned on.
No, yeah, what's your favorite Grateful Dead song?
Help on the Way, Slipknot.
Help on the Way. That's a
Yeah.
deep one. You see, like almost every single time I hear the song Ripple, I probably get emotional. But like, there's some songs by them where I'm like, I have it so associated with like friends and family. So it's like, oh, there's like this one event where this song was playing, and I'll be like, well, that makes me now like wish whenever I was younger and like was hearing music for the first time and like being like, what was that band, you know?
Yeah.
Did you ever go through like vinyls?
Oh yeah. I mean, so my dad was a deadhead. He's not like a hippie, I wouldn't say. He just a lot of pot, you know.
You know it was good.
But like he always like would talk about the Dead like when we were kids, but every time he played it, we were like, turn that shit off, like, you know, so boring.
Yeah.
But I think it was when you ever see Freaks and Geeks.
Oh yeah.
You know how like Mr. Rosso's a Deadhead, he gets Lindsay into the Dead. Yeah, I heard. American Beauty's the album that he gives her.
Yeah.
I listened to that album after I saw Freaks and Geeks, and I was like, oh, I get it now. A couple years later, a lot of my friends, like two of my closest friends from high school, are like big Deadheads. They've been going for a long time, and they've seen, you know, a lot more shows than I have. But I never got it. And then I think it was in like 2021, maybe. My friend was like, "Hey, I got an extra ticket to Dead & Co. It's in Hartford, Connecticut. Can you drive me up? I'll give you the ticket and I'll pay for the hotel." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude, let's go." And I hippie flipped at the show. I took Molly and mushrooms, and I had a great time. I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, that's when it can open up some doorways. I definitely feel you on this way. That's
and after that, but then after that, I got it from then on. You know, I didn't need to be fucked up every time I listened to it, but it opened up the door for me. Like, what is appealing about it? You know, it's not just mindless. You know.
Yeah.
And I will say, Ripple is a close favorite of mine too. That and Broke Down Palace.
Broke Down Palace, yeah, that was a really smooth recording. Now, one of our last Vibe Osmosis questions I'll throw out there. This one is kind of a new one. I'll throw out the new one, actually. So, this one's a really funny, stupid one. So, if you had to wear a costume every day for the rest of your life, what costume would it be?
Evel Knievel.
Evel Knievel. Alright, you're a stuntman.
Of some things.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join Vibe Osmosis. It's been a really good time talking with you.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Alright, talk to you soon.